Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is DBDLeague with Season 9, and we are already in the third week. This is something that is always so surprising to me. You just kick off Season 9, and out of nowhere, you are in the third week of today. We have two beautiful matches ahead of us. I already heard from yesterday there were such exciting matches, and it keeps going today. 0Practice and Calamity, Eternal and Sinners. And with me for the first half of today is the wonderful Cole. Welcome in.
Hello, everyone.
Cole, we are kicking off with 0Practice and Calamity. We have learned from the first 2 weeks that even though they are called 0Practice, they are still having very nice ideas and still having always something in their back pocket in case there's a difficult challenge throughout the games. Calamity, on the other hand, has started quite well here too. Both of them not in the worst position in terms of standings here. So for both of them today, it will be a very important match, whether they are ending up in the lower half of the standings or in the higher half of the standings. What do you think about the two teams facing each other today?
I think in such a stacked season, 0Practice was one of the teams that maybe didn't quite have like the reputation coming into this, but they've absolutely been punching above their weight. And especially this is a team that has been really interested in playing out indoor sets and M1 sets in general. They've been doing very, very well on those after maybe a bit of a hiccup last week. And I think Calamity has been honestly struggling a fair bit on the M1 sets they've been playing on both sides of the matchup. So maybe in theory, Calamity should be a favored team, but I'm honestly expecting 0Practice to take maybe a 2-1 or even a 2-0 today.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption here. And I mean, Calamity is one of these teams that can really make a very strong early game and then really take all this profits they have earned in the mid game and really creating one unit they're sticking up to. And 0Practice feels like a little bit in the first 2 weeks, they do have the same potential, but sometimes flipping a little bit up and down when it comes to difficult challenges and stuff like this. So this is something they definitely need to take care of. And one of the killers that we have today in the second set, I will just basically make everyone upset because I'm flipping the order of sets in terms of moderation. Ghostface, the second set today is one of these up and down killers. 0Practice keeps picking Ghostface and they keep enjoying playing the Ghostface. But it is one of these killers where from 1 second to the other, if you don't catch the killer in time, when you don't realize you're stalk 99 already, it can absolutely turn into a much worse position for you. Do you think 0Practice keeps picking this because they're not realizing that they don't have this necessary same level throughout their performance? Or do you think that they are really confident into the Ghostface and they really wait for the moment where they can finally shine on such killers?
I think they have to be confident in it because I hate to correct you, they are picking Dredge, which is even harder and more coordinated, requires more coordination. They're bringing Ghostface as a tiebreak pick, which a lot of comp teams really enjoy playing. But Dredge, I feel like, is an even more demanding set to play. Like every skill that you have in a Ghostface set, you need to have to a higher caliber in Dredge. And so if 0Prac is comfortable taking those sets against some of the best teams in the world, I see no reason why they shouldn't be absolutely confident in their Ghostface performance.
And now coming to the first set, because we need to keep some sort of structure here. Cenobite is an interesting killer to me in general. Calamity picking that is absolutely not a surprise in Winter Circuit, in All Hallows League. Like basically since ever the Cenobite was introduced to competitive Dead by Daylight, Calamity was one of the teams picking him, scrimming him, being confident as and against him. So I really like to see how this didn't change throughout the last year and that this is a safe pick for them. On the other hand, Cenobite is something I really love, especially when we have two teams like today, because it's a very mechanically based killer. It's a lot about the mind games that you can pull off. Then you need to find the perfect moment where you throw a body in instead of using a pallet or deciding do you want to pre-drop, etc. Like Cenobite is a very mechanical killer for me that shows us a lot on the killer and the survivor side. And I feel like 0Practice and Calamity are the two perfect teams to test in exact this form of gameplay today.
Absolutely. Cenobite can be fairly oppressive in chase if it's just the 1v1. So one of the things that we should be looking for from both survivor teams is to have a teammate nearby for a body block at the exact moment when you need it. And in particular, to be available to block certain doorways so that the slowdown can't allow him to get past the would-be protector.
And then we have a tiebreaker. If all of that was not enough yet to decide a winner, the Doctor. Calamity would start as the Doctor in the tiebreaker set here. And Doctor, also a great killer. All this mechanic round about the correct timing at the shock, anticipating the shock. Do I drop the pallet? Can I make it over there in time? All of these questions. Really interesting to see. Calamity, though, and I would expect a 1-1, to be honest, to slowly throw it into the prediction here. Doctor is a killer where I see Calamity being strong, but ultimately I would say that 0Practice has the better chance if it's going into the 1-1. Because when I see the rosters and when I see this Sayora, Kurzep, Tree Trick, like all these friends playing for such a long time together and being a known roster for such a long time, some of them coming from Divine Dad, but the core of 0Practice has been together for years. And I feel like on Doctor, team chemistry can make the difference. So my prediction is a 1-1, and then the Doctor will fall towards 0Practice based on their team chemistry and team coordination. How does it feel for you today?
I think that's a fair assessment. When we've seen some of the best teams, like I think Elysium has put up some of the best Doctor performances I've ever seen, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that it feels like the moment that the Doctor finally gets enough distance in chase with his shocks, oh, there's another survivor here to drop the pallet for their teammate, oh, another survivor here to take a body block, to the extent that we're seeing Doctor players bring rapid brutality specifically to make those body blocks less punishing. So as much as Doctor is like a mechanical, almost a 1v1 oriented killer, the story of the game is just going to be who can cover for their teammates the best.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have 0Practice and Calamity coming into the first set of today. The players are getting ready in the background. 4 survivors standing there very dangerously. A male roster at the moment. We'll see if 0Practice decides to throw a female survivor in, hopefully my beloved Comcade. We will see. We will see you in just a moment. Grab your snacks and your drinks. We'll see you for the opener best of 3 of today in just a moment.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are kicking off 0Practice versus Calamity with some Cenobite gameplay on DDS. We have Marco on the pinhead going straight to that box. This spawn is well established by now. So the survivor team is going to be starting off in the middle of a chain hunt, and Marco is going to be on the hunt for them in these corrupted generators. Does not have vision of anyone just yet, but these chains are going to be very oppressive when these chases start, and in keeping generators down. And Marco will be hearing these chains tagging a survivor and will know that there is someone there. Looks like he's going to try to cut him off, but actually decides to just not commit in the corrupted gens, would rather find a survivor who is rotated towards his available gens.
Because we flipped up this the order in the campfire chat, I was so confused. I was like, why are we not playing Ghostface? But it all makes sense now. Good Khan taking the first injury right here on the shack and does manage to drop the pallet in time. 60 seconds have been expired so far. Usually a good first sign for the survivor team, especially against M1 focused killers. You want to avoid a 2-tap by all costs, and even though this chain is going to land, that should be enough distance to easily make that window up there. And we do see that Marco decides to teleport towards the chest opener, and that's going to be a very sexy dodge from Kurzep here out of the blue, trying to work around this square here and not going to the water tower pallet, instead making this little bit of extra distance that will be punished in an injury right away. And we do go straight back towards the shack here. Chain coming out, there will be the vault into the safety here, but since the pallet has been removed, then we can only hope that he makes the second one, and another chain is coming out, so the situation getting harder and harder here. Kurzep once more making a turn around this pallet here, but we can only hope that there will be a body thrown in anytime soon, because if Marco is playing this right here, that should result in the first down.
Yep, Kurzep needs a friend, and he has one right when he needs them. This will give him some time to go where he wants. And this is another reason why we're seeing Rapid Brutality as a pick a lot of M1 killers are opting for. Marco doesn't have it, so these body blocks are not being punished. He's also not bringing Sloppy Butcher either, so when Good Khan goes to get reset, it's not going to take him take him too much time. Plus also, Marco has to be very careful about chasing at main. Typically, you would see M1s bringing Bamboozle to this map to make the main window less punishing, or they'll bring something like Rapid or Save the Best for Last, so that when you get tagged, you don't get enough distance to make it to main. But now, Marco is sort of zoned off to Shaq here. There's no pallet. He doesn't really have many good pallets around, so all he has is this window, and hopefully for him, a teammate nearby once again, but does not come in. He will die on the pallet, possibly deliberately, so we do see a survivor behind these boxes crouch for that save. The chain does connect onto Ace, and the other chain hunt is very, very close to activating again. This should be a tag onto Ace, but he does have a pallet to drop here. But this whole time, Kurzep is recovering on the ground. Is he just going to full send the pick? And it pays off.
It actually works out here, and we can only say thank God for Marco here. Had to wait for his first hook stage much longer than it was intended. We remember there was a first down at 5 generators remaining, then came the fantastic body block, and since then 0Practice managing to outstretch the time towards that first down more and more here. Really beautiful start, exactly what we highlighted in the campfire chat, and really good to see that 0Practice is sticking up to this expectation of coordination and team play here. Marco staying around the shack, trying to interrupt some generators left and right with the chains, but the survivors not too impressed by that. They've split up perfectly across the map, one on the north side, one at the south. Sayora taking another generator here next to the houses section, so they don't have to hurry too much. Kurzep chilling in the basement, kinda. We do see the first approach towards the shack here, but even if Kurzep would go into the second stage, I don't think the survivors need to be too worried, because they do have a split pressure here, and they are getting the percentages into the objectives. Marco detecting the next survivor coming in potentially here, wants to secure the second stage now to bring one of the survivors closer to the full elimination. That will be successful in just a few seconds. That's the second hook stage, indeed, right onto Kurzep here, and we are going on this little loop onto the water tower, but Marco rotating once again. He wants this elimination, but Cole, I'm a little bit worried that the punishment for sticking too long around the shack will be quite harsh. He might lose 2 additional generators here, and it all comes to the question, will Ace stay longer alive? But Marco surprisingly deciding to go back to the shack once again, even though he has seen the survivors and knows that there's no approach for the Anok at the moment here. Marco now finding back towards the shack again, trying to get the kill here. Cole, if you would get that 3 versus 1, definitely a very good condition to play on and against. On the other hand, he lost quite some progress on the gens there.
Yeah, when we see the agitation pick on a pinhead, I would just expect that they're going to try to play for basement. There's comparatively few good places on the map to loop where you are not in agi range for a basement hook, and then you can just harass survivors on the gens with your chains to slow down the progress. And Marco does have Noed in his back pocket, so he can play for maybe 6 stages, if not some more, before these gens pop. But DDS is a map that we've seen a lot of having some pretty brutal 3-gen setups if you're not able to crack them in time. And it looks like the survivors of 0Practice have done a reasonable job of doing so. They do have 2 gens left to complete. 3 of them are on this same wall, and Good Khan getting caught a little off guard, not sure where Marco was approaching from, takes an M1, may not be able to make main, does dodge the chain, so absolutely going to get the distance, and now Marco can decide if he wants to commit to main. He, of course, will not. Even with the 3v1, it's just not worth the time sink. Sayora cranking out that water tower generator, and he is just going to hold this check spot at this window, just like Kurzep did in his first chase. and he wins. He honestly has
Wow.
the pathing of a god right there.
Yeah, Dwight pathing coming out very strong here, throwing off Marco enough to take an astonishing amount of distance here, enough to make it to this relatively safe pallet that will be denied though with a chain, but we are talking about 30 plus seconds that have been lost here. We're going back towards the top of the main building, though we do find the reset, and the injured survivor is just being left into the open here. The friend just left, a little bit of betraying inside of 0Practice, but a lot of patience balancing that out easily, even with the chains already applied. But Goodkan eventually going down here. All the patience not being enough. We have another generator on 60% next to the water tower, 70 on the one on the opposite side here. So survivors still sticking to their very efficient gameplay and trying to grind through it. The pain rest though will be a good chunk of regression here for Marco, and he really needs that time now. We only have 4 stages so far. Yes, we got rid of 1 survivor in the team, but we don't have a very, very tight 3-gen that we can play around here, so this is going to be a difficulty later on. And so far 0Practice really using all the room they are getting by the killer here, really trying to get the percentages in whenever possible, rotating immediately, communication really being on point here. We do see that our Iron Will player is going to be in the next chase here. This pallet still standing. I think we have chased 3 million times around it, but 0Practice still not getting rid of this resource just yet. They saved it up for this very moment, and now is a very crucial change here, because we are in the late mid game and you really need a long one, and that's going to be a whiff there by Marco, going straight into the exchange. If you cannot do it by normal M1s, then you just take the power as a help as well. Goodkan going down relatively quickly though, second hook stage coming in. If he manages to tunnel out Goodkan as well, then he might be able to go for a 4K on a gen remaining.
Yeah, I mean, I think Goodkan is basically a goner at this point. You just don't have the ability to go for the basement unhook because of time pressure. You still have another gen to crank out. You have to worry about the box as well, and you're at most going to 1-for-1 as long as Marco hovers this area. They're also gonna have to reset Dwight, so I think they're gonna have to leave Goodkan for dead or try to go for a 2-man save, but that just does not seem like a winning play as long as Marco is able to just hold this. And look at this, he's got 2 gens that are near, directly in his line of sight, and then his 3rd gen is on the gallows. So Marco can literally just sit here, shoot chains at whatever gen is being worked to slow it down, and wait for Goodkan to die. Then he has 1 more chase and still a no-ed remaining, even with these last resets coming in. And I think the survivors should maybe have a bit of a heads up that the Pinhead does have that no-ed, because they haven't seen the remaining perks that he has. Looks like Sayora might be hovering for that, but instead they're just going to split pressure, try and work the Gallows gen with Dwight, and try and work the gen that we saw Ace on earlier. But Marco knows that the one Ace was on is the only one that has real progress, so he doesn't have to worry about the Dwight hovering Gallows just yet. We'll go ahead and kick this and possibly try to go after Ace. But look at that chain hunt timer. It's 2/3 of the way there, and they are going to have a very brutal time if they're not able to solve that, especially if Marco is able to get a down closer to the time that that box spawns, because he will be able to teleport to the solver, unless the last survivor remaining is the Calm Spirit Gamer that we have been seeing in these Pinhead sets.
It will be a very difficult challenge now for 0Practice and for Marco here, because we can see right again here how close we are, and there's it coming, the new game mechanic that is applying force onto the killer. You can no longer force a regression on this generator that 0Practice was constantly targeting throughout the trial here. So we're kind of reaching a maximum now. This was the amount of regression the killer could provide, and it was not enough to stop 0Practice, not enough to 4K them yet, not enough to throw significant impact onto them, and now you will really struggle to keep this generator under control. Already running towards it again, straight from the main building, and this chain is also not going to land, so difficult and more difficult task here for Marco. We are going back towards this houses section, and Marco realizes that he might take a little bit too much time. No, he's actually going around, and that was a very very much unawareness from Ace here. Did not expect that on the long wall at the houses section. Cole, I was just saying, in case this chase takes too long, he would be forced to go back to the gallows. But if this is a quick down, this might change everything.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of resources on the side of the map still, but Marco is playing around them actually very well. He's using his chain to get the slowdowns exactly when he needs it, and there's almost a weird mind game we're seeing on a couple of here where, okay, you can drop a pallet in the middle of your chains as long as you finish breaking the one that you're on. And so they're doing a 50-50 standoff where the survivor is playing around for the stun and Marco is just full sending it with the swing, and it is paying off in some cases. And now Marco is going to know where Dwight is almost surely, even though the chain hunt hasn't started yet. If Marco's able to find his box and call it and immediately identify where Dwight is, I did double check, it was Kirzep who had Calm Spirit, so there are no survivors in this match who are hidden from that chain hunt when the Pinhead finds his box. Dwight will be doing his best job to stealth edge map, and he also does see where that box is, but he also can't go and grab it to try and delay that, because doing so would reveal him anyway. So this is only a matter of time. Even if Marco is not going to find the box, which he will just now he knows where Dwight is, and he will be going straight there. We've got an injured Dwight with nowhere to hide. Okay, he's in a locker, lore accurate Dwight build. We'll see if there's at least a head-on for some psychological victory, or if this will actually allow him to evade Marco in the end, but surely he will know.
A final greeting by our injured right Iowa, saying, well, if you have to eliminate me from this trial, well, then I will not give it to you for free. A lot of patience being shown again. This is a strength of 0Practice that I would like to point out here. A lot of survivors have shown, oh, goodbye Marco, have shown to us that they have a massive patience when it comes to mind games, and even when they are in chains with deep wound, bleeding, with a win condition, etc., their patience just doesn't break. They have nerves of steel when it comes to looping here. Beautiful looping here by Siowa as well, making it back towards this window here. And this is actually important, Cole. You brought up the mindset, the psychological victory here towards the end, and even though you're getting 4K'd on a generator remaining, you do take a little bit of confidence here, and you're showing Calamity, listen up, even though you found me and even though I'm in a difficult spot, I can still run you for a while. And we as 0Practice, we still have some sort of control of what's happening here in the trial, and this is something they can give to their killer player, and this is something they can take into the upcoming sets, so it can be more valuable than we think right now.
Yeah, I think 4K1 is a really respectable result for a Pinhead set. It's not really what you'd like to see. You would like to get some stages out, but this is not the set that 0Practice picks, and I think 4K1 is something that you can easily go for a tie on. I don't think you really want to be positioned to play for a 4K2 as a win, but going for a tie here at least is very much in the realm of possibility. And yeah, even if this set ends up being a loss, it's something that you can say, well, we didn't get blown out. So going into that Ghost Face set, there should be still a lot of enthusiasm, let's say.
Yeah, I absolutely share that, and Marco is now trying to find the slugged pieces of meat that are shattered around the Dead Dog Saloon here. For the upcoming trial, though, we very likely gonna see Tree Trick, the killer player of 0Practice, coming out, taking the responsibility. Tree Trick, a player that is not really playing Survivor, not even in the scrims, not even for preparation. So Tree Trick absolutely focusing onto the killer. We all know him as the 3-gen god as well. If there's anyone who can hold a 3-gen very long and with a lot of defense strategies, well, then that is Tree Trick. So this is also something that could be a benefit for him later on here, because Dead Dog Saloon is definitely a map that can spawn disgusting 3 or 4 gen setups, especially in the gallows area or sometimes right next to the main building on the street and the houses. So there's a lot possible for Tree Trick that might play in his favor here. As said, I would really not be surprised if we're going to see Tree Trick. And what you are going to see is a 3-minute ad break, ladies and gentlemen. And we know that this is sometimes annoying, but we also know that you would love to support DBDLeague in Season 9. At least we hope you would love to support it in Season 9. So we appreciate if you're going to take a short look on, I don't know, whatever they offer you in terms of shampoo or anything. We'll see you in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone, to the Alive Cat Saloon. And we are having Tree Trick, as we anticipated, the killer player for 0Practice here. And if there's one 3-gen champion in competitive Dead by Daylight, then it's exactly this person right here. We do see some valuable setups in the distance here, especially next to the houses section. A beautiful 3-gen even being corrupted for later on in the game. This is a good start into a difficult win condition. Let's remember the previous trial. We do have 4K 2 gens remaining for a win. 4K with 1 gen remaining would be a tie. And if Calamity gets all the generators done, they will take the set point here. This is also very, very great for Calamity, because when you don't have to worry about getting a survivor out of the door, you can just smash through the final generator. You can just stick with 2-3 people on it, and you don't have to worry about an end game run by the killer. We are also seeing this right here. Tree Trick decided to take the know it, because the teams have to hand in the perk builds beforehand. So basically Tree Trick spoken in terms of the win condition call, only playing with 3 perks here.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been speaking about how win conditions matter when how you play the games out, and one of the nice things about having a good win con is the fact that you know that's what you have to do. You can make more calculated decisions, not having to worry about, oh, well, do we have to greed for a little bit more? And so one of the reasons we have this rule in the first place is to make it so that playing second is not as much of an advantage. We see that you can't actually make your build match the win con, because you can already match how you play. Rocket will be taking a tag in his first chase. He does a good job of spinning Tree Trick a little bit, but he will end up getting hit by the chain. A very good adaptation. Shack palette will be going down. Remember, that is the best filler palette in the game. As Rocket continues being chased at Shack, but Tree Trick has brought Bam to this game, so he will be a little bit better at these chases, but this will be a down on Rocket through the window, not able to make a fast vault with the chains on him, which throws off that usual check spot that you would have on this window, and with Pinhead vaulting through it, now they will also know that he does in fact have Bam, so the other survivors will be able to play their chases accordingly, as Rocket is being brought to the middle, that might be a Pinres interrupting main building, and it's still a safe gen to do. We have some gen progress elsewhere, but Tree Trick looks like he can try and go for a pressure out on this because of the fact that the gen is so close to this hook. But I think he may be content to just sit down here, throw chains at Pedro, and then just wait for Rocket to hit second.
Yeah, this is the setup everyone wants as a killer player, right? A perfect hook around the gens and binding survivors with it. This is something that we can maybe elaborate on a little bit longer. Basically, if we exaggerate here, Ace is also kind of hooked at the moment. He is standing there, he's waiting for the unhook, but he's not going to be efficient. He has to stand there in order to prevent Rocket from going second, and what it causes is that this survivor is entirely disabled from taking any action on the generators or forcing any progression here. So basically 0Practice right now playing with 2 players only on the generators. Only now Marco's back on the gens right here. However, Calamity has not just let the time pass with 2 survivors. They were still constantly working on the gens here. And yes, Rocket does go into the second stage here, and it's only 40 seconds until the elimination is coming through, but 3 generators are already completed. Remember, this would be the win condition for Tree Trick. We basically need to add 10 stages right now in order to take the win here, and the next generator that would bring it to a tie is already half done. So call Tree Trick might be in a good spot, definitely not in the best one.
I think this is not a good spot for him, because any possible chance that he had of making a tie condition hinged upon having a good 3-gen that he could defend, like Marco had with those 3 gens around the Shack in the previous game, and Calamity survivors have broken any possible 3-gen that Tree Trick could have. And they also were very, very time efficient in doing so. We saw that they didn't go for the box until right as Chain Hunt was going to start, which meant that the timer for when the next one could occur would be even longer away. So Treetrick doesn't even have that working for him. He has 3 healthy survivors running around with spread gens. He has to commit to someone, but all they really have the leverage to just find a corner of the map to die in and pray that Treetrick will not have a pain resonance nearby. As Ace will be able to take a tag, he will be running to the main building, it looks like, and Treetrick is not going to commit. He wants to check in on this gen, which we know that Laser has been working on. He will get a kick on it, but Pedro is so close to popping this gen in the corner behind Gallows. This will be bringing us down to a tie condition for Calamity at a minimum, and we will probably be seeing a reset coming in onto Marco soon, but the survivors do have to worry about that Chain Hunt coming in the near future. Probably Laser going to be on duty to go for that, but we will also see Treetrick seeing Marco around the main building, stops to kick the gen while Pedro is finishing that box, and Laser is back on his gen. Oh, teleport coming in.
I came.
Treetrick not being the happiest about that box opening, immediately going to Pedro, but not going to take significant impact. If we would only get a couple of injuries at least, so we force Calamity into the difficult decision, do we have to go for a reset, do we pull back from the generators, and then when they decide to go for a reset to keep it safe, then he could go for this regression that he really needs. Unfortunately, without these injuries, Treetrick will be dictated by the survivors of what's going on. Calamity decides at the moment what's happening on the Dead Dog Saloon here, and Treetrick is basically only running after that. We see it here as a perfect example. Going back to the generator is the right decision because he knows and he has the game sense that there's progress over here, but he will not catch them in time. They're holding W. Laser already with a head start moving around these rocks here as well. All of these seconds are costing enough to hop back onto the generators. Marco and Laser now being injured, but even then, and since we do not need to worry about a slug in the end game, Marco, even as an injured survivor, already back with Pedro on this generator here. Chain coming out, but he sees that the survivors are already leaving towards the houses section. Treetrick kind of trapped here between the 2 pressured generators. He has to go for a couple of downs and he has to achieve it basically right now. Marco going down here though, right next to the generators, is a huge thing. That's going to be a 5% kick as well, and if this chain lands, then Pedro is also going to be injured. Cole, is Calamity getting a little bit too confident here?
It's very possible if they just play careful, they play slow, they get their resets in, then the game is theirs to lose. I feel like if the 2 survivors that were doubling this gen had just, okay, well, no, Laser's gonna pop this gen anyway, it doesn't really matter. The win condition for Treetrick is basically to get a chain slug here, but Laser with the heads up play to just get out of there. Now the pickup coming in onto Marco. The chain hunt, however, coming in will possibly give Treetrick some time to recover while these regressions are coming in. Because keep in mind, with the change to the gen kick system, you have to work at least a certain amount of the gen in order to stop the regression. And that chain hunt is going to make it basically impossible to do that. So Treetrick can come over here, possibly kick this gen again, try to get it down. He has found Pedro in a bad spot, but he is going to try and get this kick in. But this is buying Marco time to cancel that chain hunt. And with 2 gens that, yes, they are relatively close to each other, and they are so close, it's still a situation where the survivors can just pre-leave down the edges of the map. And Cenobite just doesn't have the mobility or the map pressure to actually commit to a chase here unless someone gets caught off guard. Like, Marco gets tagged, and this will be a deep wound courtesy the original Pain add-on, but not much else accounts for it, and the survivors now should probably have the heads up that, okay, now we should be going for a reset, but it looks like Adam at least is content to play greedy, and Laser is too, to an extent, but Treetrick is just not committing to any of these chases. I guess he wants to ensure that he actually lands a chain first, but it's just so difficult for him to play this out as long as the survivors, you know, keep their wits about them.
Back on the gallows now, even Calamity trying something new while they split it between the main section and the houses. They now realize, well, maybe this was not the best idea to keep it between these two generators since they are relatively close together. So now going for the gallows area is an understandable decision, yet it is something that comes surprisingly late because we have seen them pressuring these two generators over here time and time again, and now starting an entirely new generator from zero is also going to cost a lot of time. The question is though, is Trick aware that they have made this change in the tactics, because we are not going further than the crossing point of the streets at the moment. Lasers all the way at the water tower. Interesting to see as well that all three survivors are staying injured here and trying to be as efficient as possible. 70% on the gallows. Now Trick finally realized after the other generators have been blocked in terms of the regression that there is pressure going on. Just forcing the survivors off, however, will not be enough, and I can only imagine the pressure and the stress that is on Trick's shoulders at the moment, but my lord, he's doing a fantastic job considering all the pressure he finds himself in.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely a situation where you can't be hard on yourself. You understand, like, you do not have the ability to just, you know, conjure a 4K out of thin air. So you have to realize that at some point you're relying on survivor mistakes. If the survivors just don't make the mistakes, then it's not like your fault that you didn't get the result that you wanted. And a funny little tidbit here, because the survivors were not working that gallows gen this entire time, the way that Pinhead's box spawn logic works was almost guaranteeing that it would be spawning every time in that area behind gallows because it's far away from every player in the game, which meant that every time the survivors went to pick up that box to solve it, it was always in a situation where Trick just did not have the liberty to teleport to it without giving up all of his gen pressure entirely. I don't know if that was a deliberate decision from the survivors, but it was something that was working in their favor for this time that they were not working the gallows. This will now be the last generator being completed, and one last pallet standstill through this. They will now know that, well, Trick has Noed, but it does not matter to them. They have secured the set win for Team Calamity. This is the set that they wanted. This is the set they should be expecting to win. But they will be trying to get some stages out of here, as Pedro will be hovering for the pickup onto Laser. Trick will now know that Marco was working this particular exit gate, but he will be returning to the slug, it looks like, and trying to get some more stages for himself as the pickup comes through. But Trick being a little bit indecisive in where he wants to pressure, now deciding to go for this exit gate, but it is close enough to being progressive. I think Ace is out. Actually, Ace seems to disagree with me. He will leave that gate, which has 3 red lights already, very, very close, and he will just force a locker grab. But this means that he can be hooked near this gate. Surely Pedro and Laser will be looking to go through the other gate, as Laser is working a already completed generator. Now that is what we call going above and beyond.
Very, very strong showing from Calamity here on the set. They wanted to win. Cenobite on the Dead Dog Saloon. Ladies and gentlemen, 1-0 for Calamity. Congratulations. We just heard that in a different tournament earlier today, they were very successful. So it seems like Calamity is on a run. The question is, will that run end in the upcoming set? Because we do have the Ghost Phase being picked by 0Practice. And knowing 0Practice, first of all, it's a Russian team, so they are so good on the indoor maps. Ghostface is a team that is a killer that is loved in the Russian community, and especially Trick is one of the known Ghostface in the competitive community. It has so many ups and downs. You can miss the Ghostface around the corner, you can run into him accidentally, you can misjudge how far you have been stalked during the game. So all of this has a great potential that 0Practice is showing us an amazing comeback, and we'll find out about this comeback right after switching sides.
All right, folks, the doctor is in. What are we being treated for? You don't want to know, but this is the treatment theater, and we have the start of our Ghostface set, so be sure to grab a snack and some drinks because we're going to be here for probably 40 minutes as Trick will be kicking us off looking for some Calamity survivors, looking to take a set dub and tie this series up 1-1, not finding anyone just yet. And we will be sort of checking around these rooms around the edge, trying to see if he can find a survivor that's being rotated. We are hovering around the main building. We got some corrupted gens here, but no sign of survivors. We have some interesting pathing up here, checking the upper area of the main building TV room to see if he can find someone who is unaware of his approach, but he is finally finding Pedro, who will be running back around the main area, but he doesn't seem to have any pals to work with, just trying to break some LOS. And the question is now going to be if he has a teammate nearby to help cover for him. And yes, it was Lactron this entire time. Now Lactron was taking aggro as Trick is trying to get some stock onto him as well, having already gotten Pedro to about 50%. And now the survivors here, their whole plan is to just camp, safe pallets until they know for a fact where the Ghostface is. Lactron is now dangerously close to being tagged with that Olsen's wallet, giving him his power immediately back after kicking the pallet. And now Lactron is going to know he has to be especially careful. Pedro is going to be a little bit careful too, not knowing exactly how close he is. And we have Rocket running around and Laser progressing a gen, but they are going to have the heads up that, okay, we don't know where Ghostface is. Let's play it safe. Let's not be found working on a gen unawares. And let's not give him an early down, as Trichik will be finding Laser, but Laser in a spot to reveal him and has a pretty decent palette to play.
Yeah, Calamity is so far really taking the necessary steps to prevent any of these surprises that are possible in the Ghostface set. Lactron, though, needs to watch out where he's positioning himself later on, because there we already have the 90% of stalk progress. We do see now a few percentages being started into the generators. All of the survivors are still healthy, so they don't worry too much about that, even if it takes a little bit longer. But just while we have been on the other POV, Lactron has been found and the exposed status effect has been popped off. Trick now following Lactron, who has a significant amount of distance though, and the pallets on Larry's are still standing here, so this might not be the quickest down for Trick trying to fake that he's leaving. Lactron now waiting in the main room, going upstairs, trying to prevent being found, though. The Ghostface on the tail of Lactron, and Lactron spotted him a little bit late, potentially running around here holding W. Where is the Ghostface? That's going to be the question. Behind which corner is he going to wait? Is it going to be the successful mind game? The answer is yes, kinda, but last second Rocket is coming in, being stalked 75%, and now we can safely say that Lactron is going to make it to safety here. Now though, Rocket better watching his back.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of a mistake to... I don't think Trick intended to mark Lactron. I think he was using his stock to sort of scan the area and sort of accidentally tagged Lactron with it, and that gave him some time to get away. We're seeing Trick has got that drop leg knife sheath, meaning if he catches you off guard, he does get that stock. He has a pretty big speed boost to close the gap onto you. Now, Laser, the one being chased, we do have two survivors who are close to being fully marked. You don't really want to commit to a chase here that much. You will get the tag onto Laser, and I think you have to leave now to try and find one of these fully marked survivors, and that is the play that Trick seems to be going for. He will find Rocket here. Rocket has to be super careful, but we're going to stop, take a detour, get that Cobb interruption on that gen. No, ladies and gentlemen, this is not patch whatever it was when Cobb eruption was meta, but it is going to be a down onto Pedro Hurst instead.
This is the moments we were talking about earlier. One wrong move, not being aware where the Ghostface is, and you might step right in front of his face while being exposed. This is what happened to Pedro. That's going to be the first hook stage of the game. Rocket might face the same situation here. He needs to be careful, especially on the generators as well. Lactron and Laser now being back to healthy and not stalked at all. Meanwhile, Trick though finds another generator to kick, and this one already faced the maximum gen kicks in terms of regression here. Really, really interesting to see that after just a few moments here. Back to the main room, we see 30% have been applied over here. I like Calamity's approach, taking it really, really slow and really making sure that they are not going to take too much risk, not being exposed in the wrong location, things like that. But if Trick manages to pull one or two additional surprises as he did before, and might do it again here onto Rocket, then Calamity's very careful playstyle might change into we haven't done enough generator progression yet.
This is actually a very precarious situation for both survivors. We've got Pedro's base kit BT is worn off, and Rocket was almost fully stocked there, so he's got a good window here to play, but he's in a very vulnerable spot, and he does not quite get the reaction time. That will be the down onto him. Rocket probably the only survivor who was not in a safe position to go for that save. He does pay for it, but we will have the main build, the main gen is going to pop for sure. And now this one as well, but I don't believe the survivors have any other gen progress to speak of. However, they are doing a good job of managing their health states and the marks. There's not a whole lot of risk of them being chain slugged here at the moment, which is a good situation to be in, and we do see they have some good pallets remaining, so far this game going fairly evenly.
Let's see how it continues from now on. Rocket is the second fresh hook here, so we do not have a survivor that will be eliminated anytime soon, which is good for Calamity as well. Here, Rocket now being immediately saved, going for a quick reset potentially here with the teammate. We do not see any significant stalk progress besides Lacrin being on 50% here, but Trick really not having this grasp that you really want to have on the ghost phase sets, where you have multiple people injured, where you manage to really scare them off, and where you're constantly putting them in a situation where they are really unsure whether or not you are coming around the corner in just a second here. All of this is being denied by Calamity, and Trick not really finding a way to prevent that. We will see the full stalk onto Rocket. He has shown us a good chase beforehand. Rocket also one of the most successful 1v1 leaderboard players in DBDLeague ladder here, so you really have a hard task catching this person. Lectron being sort of around the ghost phase right here, but catches it in time as well. Cole, I'm a little bit worried about the pressure here. If Calamity is able to keep this patience and keep this playstyle, they might walk out here in a very great result, but we do see Lectron going down in the office on the other side of the map. That one came rather surprising here.
I'm sure it was a surprise for Lactron as well. We did not have a whole lot of time to see exactly what happened there, so I'm going to go ahead and guess that Lactron didn't see it coming either. But a basement hook here is a little bit tragic, because it also means that Trick, if he decides to sort of hover around here, he will have the opportunity to peek his head down the basement stairs and fully stalk whoever is on that rescue and make any save almost a guaranteed 1-for-1, even though he's not bringing Philly. And we are seeing what you want to see from Ghostface sets. The survivors are playing very carefully. They are not letting the injuries pile up, and at the same time, Trick is playing Ghostface the way you are supposed to. He's not tunnel visioning on an M1 chase. He is playing to get his stocks, playing to catch survivors off guard and get insta-down rather than very. I know that a lot of like casual players can find this map very frustrating to learn and to loop, but it can have some very gross setups if you are just chasing normally. And it's good to see that Trick is not falling into this habit of, I need to get my down, let me just I'll get this guy in the next 15 seconds, trust me, bro. As Lactron will be saved, and we will find Laser caught in rotation. Does he have any good pallets to play? No, he does have a wall, but that is not the safety you're looking for. That fire extinguisher does not put out exposed marks.
Another generator finding completion in the distance. Meanwhile, we do have the reset between Lectron and Pedro right here, and Rocket joining that as well, bringing the entire team back to healthy. A beautiful split of the hook stages here as well. Usually for competitive Dead by Daylight, we do see the first down survivor being in the difficult spot of finding himself tunneled, so that's going to be a 3v1 as quick as possible. And here, very surprisingly, and we really don't see that often, a full split of the hook stages, one on each individual survivor here. This doesn't help Trick and Team 0Practice at all, because you would try to hope that there's going to be a 3v1 situation anytime soon. Pedro being back on 75% stalk progress and being the one who's rotating towards the unhook, as it seems like, so that might be a chance for Trick to strike. Lectron running in the hallway, going for the next generator. Trick though back towards the hook here. Does he want to push Laser into second stage? This is a very beautiful chance to go for a lot of progress onto Rocket here, who does not notice that he has been stalked there through the glass from far away. 99% now onto him, and Rocket will not believe that he's on 99 already, because because he just sees the ghost face the first time as well. Therefore, a lot of panic on Rocket here. Will he be able? But Tree Trick allowing Rocket to stun him towards the correct side. You're trying to zone the survivor. It should be the opposite side here in this mind game. And Tree Trick making the mistake, allowing Rocket to stun him back towards the mid of Larry's Memorial Institute here. Cole, that was quite a mistake by the killer here, and we can only hope that he catches up as fast as he can.
Yeah, I mean, he does end up finding Rocket again. He leaves him. I think he decides he doesn't want to commit to Rocket, but at this point, you don't know where Pedro is anymore, and this allows both of your March survivors to just sort of get away for free. I think he sees someone running in the distance. That might actually be Pedro, so it is possible he'll catch Pedro off guard, but he does not appear to actually commit to any of these as Rocket's mark is about to wear off. Pedro's is very close as well. There is very little time left to try and make a recovery here because you don't really have any more stock. And it's a little bit too late in the game. You need a down now, but now all survivors have been able to get to a safe position. You're kind of back at square one. The best hope you have is finding Lactrin caught sleeping. Now we have Pedro running down the hallway. He might have missed out on Tree Trick being there. We don't know just yet. But Pedro being back to almost full stock, Rocket in the same situation. Oh, but we see Rocket almost immediately leaving that gen. He does get to about 40% stock, but not quite enough to be worried if you are found in a decent spot. But now we're probably going to be looking for Rocket again.
Yeah, it's getting now a little bit into the chaos that we often see on the ghost phase sets, and where Calamity, from their original approach of taking it really safe and having the control, not allowing the ghost phase to go for anything, really changes. Tree Trick is a lot more dangerous right now. The survivors have not seen him, have not expected him, have not anticipated that they were stalked here. So Tree Trick becomes more and more dangerous now in the mid game, and this is what I love so much about ghost phase matches. On usual, like, let's take an Oni or a Demogorgon, you know kind of what's happening. You know that the next hit is going to be the power, and it's a question, okay, will this swing come through? Will we find a survivor? And exactly here we have what I love so much. There's the down, and then Rocket is also fully stalked. Tree Trick, however, is not going for it, but a little bit of a jump scare still applied on the survivors there. That's going to be hook stage number 6, and we're still on 2 generators remaining. We have been on 2 gens with 2 stages, and we are on 2 generators with 6 stages. So Tree Trick on an absolute run here, and Rocket will not try to do anything at all either, and instead even running in front of the ghost face. Rocket, you should be in a corner or in a locker far away, hiding and making sure that you're not going down. Instead, he's going to take a little bit of risk here and a little bit of adrenaline in his blood. Is it going to be a takeover from Tree Trick? We can only assume. We will have to tell. Tree Trick definitely needs some more moments like this, but Cole, he really starts to shine a little bit.
Yeah, this could be a moment where he goes for the tunnel out onto Lactrin, but Pedro, again, 99, that will be down to him. We are now getting our... This is telling me like this should be the 6th hook stage, but possibly 7th once Pedro goes back on that hook, and we are not getting that elimination, but we are getting a good amount of hook stages, and we have all fresh. I think it's kind of odd almost because we usually see ghost face sets end up being a 4K, but it should not be. This should be a set where survivors are getting outs, and we are kind of on pace to get that, but it's just a set that can be extremely punished if the survivors are making any mistakes. These survivors just are not making that many mistakes to be punished, as now Rocket takes a tag, he will leave, and it looks like that gen cannot be kicked anymore. So now we're going to have a couple survivors that are in a vulnerable situation. 2 of them are injured. I believe 2 are also on death hook. That will be now a tag onto Lactrin. And remember, he is one of those survivors who is on death hook, but he will be running away from the remaining gens. Tree Trick will not commit. He wants to try and catch someone off guard. He's got 2 other injured survivors deeper into the map that he can go for. And Laser is in a little bit of a safer position, being healthy, and I believe there's not much stock on him, if any. Keep in mind, we also still have this God palette in the library that survivors have not used. This will possibly afford some last-minute safety in the endgame, as now there's been a little bit of a calm down in the gameplay here, as we will see a reset coming in. Tree Trick doesn't have anyone in his sights, but now he will find 2 survivors who have reset. It's Pedro and I believe Laser. and both will be getting some stock progress built up, but they are doing a good job of crouching behind structures to avoid being revealed. Laser now at 50%. Does he have anything to work with? No, not really. Laser 99, Pedro now getting put up to about 2/3. And remember, without a good pallet, you have to worry about this haste. This is a Laser playing for the stun. It is his only chance of getting out of here. But instead, we will have a tag onto Pedro, who was in position to try and reveal him or go for a body block. Remember, if the Ghostface has marked you, you are not able to reveal him as long as you are marked. So Pedro coming in to help Laser have some more information about what the Ghostface is doing in chase. But Trick is still hot on his trails, trying to cut him off around the main area, but he will now break chase. Laser will still have to play a bit worried. Pedro Hurts and Lactrin as well, both injured and on deathhook running around. So it's Rocket who is the only survivor who can really safely do much. He will be working a gen. He will not be going for resets, but it looks like Laser is positioning to get that reset for Pedro at least. And now Trick might be positioning to try and find the reset, but it appears he is not. He is pathing away from them. This is the gen Rocket's on. He has a pallet here. And now the survivors will know, okay, well, at least we have some time to get some reset onto the injuries, but he is going to leave and try and find someone else. And it will be Pedro Hurts now who is spotted.
Yeah, the difficult spot is here that I really thought that down or the exposure on Laser was the chance for Trick to take over here. And now with the beautiful coordination between Pedro and Laser and this being denied, Trick is just running after the survivors again. We don't see this instant knock off the survivor after exposing them. We don't see this necessary hook stage coming in. We don't see them pulling away from the generators, and this results in generator number 5 bringing us to the end game. And this is really unfortunate because for such a long time here, Trick was in the disadvantage, then fighting back in the mid game, and he did become more and more dangerous, but unfortunately then he lost his control again, and Calamity turned out to be a little bit stronger than that. Also a whiff coming out right here, that's going to be Pedro, and now on a very, very safe pallet, and therefore Trick turning towards the exit gates, trying to take as many hook stages as possible. But on this nearby exit gate where we had Pedro, there is not going to be a survivor yet. Instead, they are on the other side. Rocket is going to chill a little bit next to this exit gate here, making sure, and we might see a 4 escape, but Pedro now going to be exposed again. We'll see if poor Adam is going to be, and yeah, okay, with the body block and the very, very strong pallet here at the office, they are definitely in a good spot. They keep running here. Even this shortening is not going to be enough. Laser is around as well, and the time is going to tick against the killer here because more and more survivors will come in and body block potentially. Cole, will we see a 4-man escape? What do you think?
It should be. They have the bodies required to give Pedro enough body blocks to get out. No one is close enough to being fully marked. They can honestly even start healing. I'm trying to reveal him, but yeah, Ghostface will get kicked out of his power as well. They can just try to start resetting Pedro here if they want, but also because it's Larry's, there are a lot of doorways that you can just run through and get a clean body block. Also, this God Pallet we highlighted earlier was providing some safety, and there was even a God Pallet in one of the long rooms that gave Pedro some safety as well before the last gen popped. Trick is trying desperately to mind game Pedro, but if he's just patient, the only hope that he has is basically to force Pedro to die to EGC. He will be marking him a bit. Even though he's injured, it looks kind of goofy, but he does still have the ability to get a speed boost off of this, as Pedro is running desperately to an exit gate, but I don't think this is... Oh, it is the right exit gate. It's being opened. Will it be enough to get Adam out? It is not quite working out. How are you going to run through him? He has to run deeper into the map, but with the EGC ticking down, I'm not even sure Pedro Hurts can make it from here to the other gate in time. He does have a body block. It might actually be enough, but it has to be very careful to not have the Calamity survivors give 2 deaths over due to the EGC. Yeah. It is a matter of inches, as I think Laser might actually die here.
Both of them!
No! Both of them! Laser gets out because of the down.
I actually... This is the moment where we need the video referee, to be honest. But I'm not 100% sure if they wouldn't have been both dead. And if it wasn't a mistake to down Pedro there, because of the downed Pedro and the timer going only half speed, Laser definitely escaped here. But I wouldn't bet a lot on the Survivor making it out otherwise, because that endgame collapse looked very, very difficult, and then it would have potentially been an additional stage here. That was definitely a photo finish in this Ghostface set. However, not at all how 0Practice imagined that, and not at all how we know 0Practice playing the Ghostface here. So that's going to be one hell of an unfortunate win condition for them in the upcoming trial. They are now going to be on the Survivor side. Calamity is going to provide the Ghostface, and we'll see you after a short break. Ladies and gentlemen, who's lurking in the shadows of Hilarious Memorial Institute? It's Yokadex against Sayora, Kirzep, Gotkan, and I really don't know how to pronounce the third survivor, so I will not even try to not offend anyone. So all of these and survivor number 3 playing for 0Practice on Larry's, and the win condition is quite good, but Kirzep getting a jump scare right here at the beginning. That's going to set him straight in his chair for the upcoming trial, telling him that he needs to be aware of the surroundings. Yokadex just needs a couple of hook stages here. We are not talking about the typical 4K1 that we see pretty often on Ghostface sets here. Therefore, Calamity definitely having all reasons to be confident here. On the other hand, 0Practice has shown us a ton of times that they can make a comeback here. So the early game will be a very deciding factor.
Yes, I believe Yokat needs 9 stages and 4 fresh. No, 9 stages in period. And so that is still a lot of stages to get if the survivors play cleanly. I think if the survivors play perfectly, you're looking at closer to 6. But obviously, playing a Ghostface set, a long set perfectly for 20 minutes is not an easy task. Almost no one manages to do it. That's why it's so astonishing when it does happen. Now the chase will be occurring onto Good Khan. He does greed for a window, but does he have anything to play? He has main building palace, but these are pretty bad. The whiffs are coming in for Yokat. Good Khan doing a good job of not giving him that down. And now we have bought enough time for Sayora to come in for a body block, but there are 2 survivors there. Now keep in mind, because Good Khan is marked, he's not able to kick Yokat out of power. It was all on Dwight, who just took the M1 and left. Now Yokat has opted for Sloppy Butcher as well. We did not see that in the previous game, ever since the nerfs to Mangled and Hemorrhage at status in general. We've been seeing a lot of killers, even killers that are so fond of Sloppy Butcher, like Ghostface, Dredge, Wraith. They are shying away from this perk more and more, but Yokat is keeping it, and it will make these body blocks even more punishing, as Good Khan still being marked will have to drop some more of these resources to stay alive, but his mark will be wearing off, and Yokat will break chase and lay some eruption on this hallway generator. Keeping in mind, also, both of our Ghostface players, very fond of their Gen Kick perks. We have been seeing a lot of Hex perks finding their way into players' builds, but Yokat and Tree are not with that meta. They will be playing for kicks instead. And now Good Khan, once again in Yokat's sights, trying to get another full stock on him.
And it's going to be now the next chase with our beloved Gotkan here. 99 on the stock progress already. He does have the very, very strong God palette on the library, but decides to go for the vault there. Might have been the chance to strike, but instead our killer going towards the generator. Completion into the face. That's always very, very demoralizing for the killer when you are basically making the right step in stopping a generator, but it's not going to be enough and you're just 1 or 2 seconds late. Good Khan and another teammate also leaving the next generator in time to not even get an injury here by Yokat. So 0Practice playing really, really strong here. 2 generators already, 0 stages so far. This is how you need to play it right now, and this is how you apply pressure. Again, we need to have 9 stages and 4 survivors call, and if 0Practice is keeping this speed and this efficiency up, well, then we're going into tiebreaker.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Yokat was tunneling a little bit too hard onto Good Khan. Like we said, it's not that easy to just play regular M1 chases on this map, and 0Practice, a team that loves their indoor map killers, have certainly been scrimming a lot on this map. They should be very comfortable in playing this map in general. Kirzep will now be taking a tag, but the survivors have some pretty good gen progress for this. He still has a good pallet to drop here that will force Yokat to break it, holding a check spot in this hallway to see, hey, Yokat is leaving. We know where he's going. Survivors in that direction should look out. GoodCon is going to go ahead and head towards a pallet of his own. Keeping in mind, he is 100% 99. So he is the one person in this game who should not be caught out ever, and I believe Yokat is on his trail. He does get that speed boost from Drop Leg Knife Sheath, but GoodCon knows about this. Oh, it reaches just through the pallet, the speed boost catching him maybe a little bit off guard, but that also looks like it shouldn't hit Ghostface's weapon being a little bit small, means that sometimes the hitbox is not quite going to match.
We do see them healing again. 0Practice doesn't want to run into any jump scares or difficult situations later on where they don't catch the ghost face and then being downed immediately. First hook stage though, in exchange for 2 generators. Game definitely slowing down here. We do not have that much of generator pressure left and right anymore. We do see a little bit of leftover right here, but 5%. Oh no, it's Pop Goes to Weasel, so even more coming out right here. Eruption being enabled for later on as well. So Yokat definitely getting the grasp onto the survivors here and preventing them from smashing through the gen. Sayora 75% stalked, so that's going to be a valuable survivor later on, or it seems like we're actually trying to cut off the way a little bit. We might step back, but that's going to be Ace being found here in the main room, taking an injury and not making that much distance. There's only this relatively safe pallet here. Is he making it all the way to the god pallet? That's going to be the question. Unfortunate for Yokat, yes, but 0Practice really needs a longer chase here in the mid game. Yokat has to decide defense of the generators or going for a down here. Survivor held W and is nowhere to be found, so Yokat rotating back towards the gens. They might take an immediate reset again, but 2 survivors over here will be stalked. I really like what 0Practice is doing, especially having a rough first set and then also the killer game not going as expected at all. We were definitely expecting a 4K there from Tree Trick since they are really, really strong in this killer and we're very confident about this set. But how the Survivor team is playing right now is absolutely great.
This is where Yokat has an opportunity to make a snowball. We have some good soft progress on Sayora and Kirzep, and the 2 survivors who do not have a lot of stock on them are already injured. Okay, well, Ace just got healed, but for a moment there, Yokat had the opportunity to basically one-shot any survivor that he caught off guard. Now, GoodCon, once again, the person that Yokat has been chasing for what feels like most of this match, will not be able to fake that window in quite right. This will be the pickup onto him. And also Eruption proccing on a couple gens, now possibly Pain Res and Pop coming in to also slow down this gen progress. Yes, we had 2 generators pop for these first chases onto GoodCon, practically 2 separate chases. But now the gen progress has kind of slowed down. Yokat kind of greeting to drag GoodCon into his gen setup, and he is going to be punished for it very hard. GoodCon gets to just run down the map, and Yokat has to leave him. He has to try and find someone else. Ideally, he wants to find Sayora, but he's going to wrap up the side of the map, but the survivor is not going to be caught off guard. Sayora is going to be fully marked, but he is going to greed a bit. He does have a pallet here. This is a little bit of a 50-50, and the tag will come through on the other side. This is the down onto Sayora, but GoodCon gets a reset in the distance. So now we know that if anyone is working gens right now, it is Ace.
That's going to be hook stage number 2, and still 2 generators completed. We have seen these 2 generators finding completion at the start, and we were very worried about Calamity's killer here, losing the control over Larry's very early. But since then, no gen being completed, no significant progress being made. So all these little injuries, all these little rotations paying off here and really making sure that they are not going to get too aggressive on the gens. And also Cursor in a difficult spot now is also going to be exposed. Just this pallet here towards the exit gate. Will it going to be a successful chase? That's going to be the question right here. We are taking a couple of, and that's going to be the pallet coming through, but it is still going to be a lot of seconds left, and that's going to be now the difficult one right here.
Yeah, back-to-back stuns. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Cole, am I lagging? Is it happening to me?
I don't believe so. We do have back-to-back stuns that buy Cures up enough time to get to a God Pallet in main, and this chase is dragging on so long, it gave Cyrus another generator, and now or Dwight coming in to take a hit means that this is the kind of tunnel vision that we saw at the beginning that gave survivors 2 gens. Now it gave them another, and Yokot has to be careful to not try and just commit to these chases like he has been doing. This is probably the one way that the survivors can meet their win condition. Now we will have Yokot continuing on to check around these maps. We got an eruption coming in. We do have a couple survivors that could be vulnerable if they're caught out, but we have no idea on where they are just yet. Probably someone is trying to get Sayora reset. They are going to play carefully. They've only given over 2 hook stages. They do have 6 more that they can afford to give over and tie. So ideally, they don't want to give more than 5 hook stages for the 2 gens that they have remaining. Unfortunately for Yokot, a lot of his build revolves around getting pain res and pop value, which you need the hooks to do that. Whereas if you're going for more of an eruption, call a Brine strat, or Ruin Undying, which we've seen some Ghostface opting into, you can get pressure without needing to actually secure these downs all the time, and maybe that would have paid off for Yokot a little bit more this game.
Okay, my mountain internet fixed itself. We are back on the ghost phase here. Sorry for the interruption there. 4 healthy survivors again. It feels like, even though I saw nothing for 2 minutes, that nothing changed really here. 0Practice still being very confident. Just 2 hook stages, 3 generators being completed now, so they are even grinding a little bit further. 1 survivor on 60% stalk progress, the other 3's coming out very, very strong here. No stalk progress to worry about, no injury to heal, nothing to debate in terms of game plan and tactics here. That's really good to see, and 0Practice definitely needing this after the difficult set they had at the beginning. Now we can only hope that they are able to push this through. However, Ace is being found here and being exposed immediately. The door is not far away, so that's going to be a quick catch-up by Yokot. Is there another pallet in this room? The answer is no, and this one will not be in reach. Cole, that's going to be a quick turn here and a down. Do you feel confident about 0Practice smashing it into the tiebreaker, or will Yokot X come to a fantastic comeback here?
They're absolutely in a position where they should be able to secure a set win, but whether or not they will remains to be seen. This set is on a knife's edge basically always. It's extremely easy to make mistakes and throw the game and just, always operating together. Like we saw in this last chase here, Ace not quite able to make it to the pallet, and we had Dwight nearby to help him out, but just not quite close enough to give him a body block, not quite close enough to play for a pallet save. And now Good Khan getting caught out a little bit, possibly on rotation for that save. This is going to give Yokot so much pressure as he can just leave Good Khan slugged, come back to that hook, and now the survivors are just caught a little bit with so much time pressure they have. But that, I think, is going to give Yokot a lot more pressure now with a couple survivors injured, 1 slugged. There's only so much that you can do, as Kierzep is really the only survivor who's going to be going for objectives, as now we have 2 slugs on the ground. So this is such a difficult position to actually make decisions in. You don't want to greed for a pickup or a save onto your teammate and get caught out as well. Kierzep will be popping a generator as well. There are now 4 hooks in this game, but we're gonna have 2 injured survivors here if Yokot finds this pickup. But now instead, Chase will be onto Kierzep instead, probably the last person that Yokot wants to chase. He will be getting some stalk onto him, and he might have to leave here. I really don't feel like you should be hard committing this, but Kierzep is in a place where he's a little bit vulnerable now. He is 99. He has some good pallets around here. This is affording the remaining survivors of 0Practice a lot of time to help each other out, get some heals. Now Kierzep is going to be fully stocked on an unsafe pallet, and it will be a down for him. This is going to be Yokot's 5th hook stage, but he will instead slug. So we're going to stay on 4 and look for where the survivors are resetting. I think Yokot wants to try and clinch the game here. He wants that snowball. He knows 2 or 3 survivors are injured and clumped up together, and all he has to do is find them, but they are actually resetting very close to the body. So this will actually allow survivors to recover. Yokat is not where the survivors are. If anything, he can find, again, I don't know how to say his name, Ace. Ace will go down on a pallet. Now this will be the 5th hook stage, but the other 3 survivors will have an opportunity to get a triple reset as Ace goes on that hook.
Now we have the second hook stage on this survivor, and this looks much more sensible to me as well, because I would assume if Yokat is feeling confident about stopping that final generator, then we could work on cutting the survivor team a little bit and bringing it down to a 3 versus 1 here, making it a lot easier. We have 5 stages at the moment. We would need 9 on 4 survivors to meet up for the win condition here. 8 on 4 survivors would be the tie, and that's going to be the ghost phase right onto Godkan here. He knows that he is in trouble. He's holding W, trying to break LOS here to not be stalked too much as well. We do watch the beautiful mind games there from Yokat as well, but the stalk progress is rising and rising, and that's going to be the full exposure very, very soon. We still also have the survivor on the hook right there. They need to take care about the unhook if they don't want to lose the teammate here, but it seems like they are doing this only last second, and that's going to be a very, very well-timed unhook right there. I feel like that was the last millisecond they had.
Absolutely, and I'd also like to highlight here, I believe it is Kirzep who is the last fresh hook available. Remember, because Treetrick got 4 freshes in the previous game, it is not enough for Yokat to get 8 hooks. He needs to get 8 hooks, and one of them has to be Kirzep, or else he is going to need a full 9 stages in order to win. But we will see survivors playing a little bit safe. They are trying to get that last gen because they need to get some outs. But Good Khan has to be extremely careful. Once again, fully stalked almost. The moment he's caught out of position, he will be dead. And there is so little resources left on the map at this point. That is the one upside to the way that Yokat was sort of brute forcing some of these chases throughout the game, is now if you run into someone, they don't really have a whole lot to work with. And so we've been seeing these last couple chases have been very quick downs if the survivor was not able to just knock Yokat out of his power right away. He suspects there's someone over here, but there does not appear to be, and this gen still has an eruption proc on it. I don't know exactly who he is looking for. We should be seeing Kirzep getting reset soon. And look at these gens. They are spread pretty far apart. This does mean if the survivors play patiently, they pre-leave when they're not sure where the ghost phase is, they will be able to split pressure on these gens. And also, with those gen kick changes, these builds get punished in long, drawn-out games such as this. You can only kick that gen so many times, and that eruption is giving you 2 stacks towards that 8 tap. So you can't play the long game forever if you're Yokat.
Yeah, and this is potentially what the survivors are realizing slowly, that the gen kick limit has been reached here, and that their patience is also going to pay out now, because when they are now pulling back towards healing, and if it's only 1 injury because they were throwing body blocks in potentially for the exposed teammates, they have all time in the world, as long as they are aware of their surroundings and as long as they are not going to be jump scared and finding any sort of problematic down, they will be okay. However, Sayora is also 99 now, and that's going to be Kirzep overpeaking, and this firecracker, my friend, is only going to celebrate your quick down right here. That's going to be hook stage number 6 for Yokat. Remember, we would need 9 on 4 survivors to go for the set win here. That's going to be, though, the entire 0Practice team jumping back onto the generators. The big disadvantage for Yokat is that Kirzep is the first hook stage, so we are not looking forward to a potential elimination anytime soon. So Kirzep really not the survivor you want to hook right here in this situation. We do have 1 remaining pallet actually on Levy's Memorial Institute. However, Kirzep still still going to take the injury here, and now I would honestly expect that 0Practice is pulling back altogether and going for the full reset here.
That was such a tragedy. We saw Kirzep was shadowing Sayora, trying to knock Yokot out of his power so that his teammate could not get fully stocked. But when you are revealing the ghost face, it tells him, so Yokot just turns around, instantly pops that mark onto Kirzep and gets that down before he can react, and that will be the 4th fresh that Yokot needed. And now we are once again, we see a mark onto Sayora. He does have this pal that he will pre-drop, but this is one of the only good resources left on the map. These are some 50-50s that it appears that Sayora has lost here. This will be the down onto him. And now we are at the 7 hook stage mark. Yokot will only need 1 more hook in order to tie this set and 2 to secure the win. This generator right next to Dwight is so close, and that is the death onto Sayora as well. So we are entering into a 3v1. There is high generator progress, but the survivors cannot afford realistically to give over much more in way of hook states if they want to keep playing this match.
7 stages, 2 more. Now, if we go for hook stage here, only 1 more, and Kirzep staying on a hook for longer is going to also wrap it up. But there's going to be generator number 5, ladies and gentlemen. We are going into the end game. However, Kirzep dying on hook would be hook stage number 9, and that would be the win for team Calamity here. So this cannot happen. We do have, however, a 99 God Khan and an injured Ace. So that's going to be one hell of a challenge here. They would need to achieve so much, and they would need to go for, I don't know, basically a miracle call, because who's supposed to go for the unhook here?
You have to get Ace reset, and Ace has to be the one to go for this. But the thing is, you have to send both survivors to the hook, right? Because otherwise it's just a 1-for-1 and you're not getting anything out of it. Yokot has the heads up play to swing to cancel his own power, so that now he has his power available the moment GoodCon comes here. This is his only opportunity to go for this save, because that is exactly what could happen, because Yokot had that power ready to go. And now that will end up securing Calamity's victory 2-0 in this match. There is nothing that Ace can do here. This will end up being an 11-stage game for Yokot. He only needed the 9, and he has overachieved just a little bit. But once again, at least we saw both sets of survivors pop all gens. We are seeing a little bit more clean gameplay against the Ghostface than what we would normally see on the survivor side. We should be getting outs, and we have gotten outs in both games. Both teams should be happy with their performances, but Calamity showing up just a little bit better on the day in both of these sets.
Calamity taking the 2-0 was, I'll repeat it from the campfire chat, not something I would have expected here. So definitely coming out really, really strong. We heard they bat Elysium earlier in another tournament, so they seem to be on a very, very good run today. Therefore, we are very happy that they could achieve so much for themselves today. 0Practice, unfortunately, taking the 2-0 loss here, but still has a win in the standings from the first weekend, so they are not dropping too far down, and they can come back strong in week number 4. We are looking forward to that.